Okay, Disney's live action remakes have been hit or miss, but let's be real. The Cinderella remake in 2015, she ate and she left no crumbs. Let's talk about why this movie set the standard and why no remake has been able to top it since. I'm Lizzie with Pass the Popcorn. Let's break it down. So, the Cinderella 2015 live action remake. Not only is this my most favorite live action that Disney has ever done, but this is also my favorite movie of all time. I just think it was done so incredibly well. Every time I watch it, I sit and dissect it with my husband and we just talk about how amazing it was and is. I just feel like no other live action remake has been able to top it since. Now, I do think Universal is about to give Disney a run for their money with the live action How to Train Your Dragon coming out in just a couple of weeks. I am so hyped for that movie. It's not even funny. I have not been this excited for a movie in so long. And I think they're going to do amazing. Like Cinderella level quality. But that's off the topic, right? We're talking about Cinderella today and I literally could not be more excited. I wore my Optimist sweatshirt because I feel like that embodies the character of who Cinderella is. And I have so many thoughts and I can't wait to talk about this. So get hyped with me in the comment section because I could talk about this movie with you all day. Truthfully, I want to do that, so let's talk about it together. This was Disney's first live action remake, so they pulled out all the stops for this movie. But compared to some other remakes that they've done since then, I feel like a lot of their new remakes, they have really tried to be edgy. There's more dark tones, and they're just like visually darker. The filters they're putting on these movies are very dark. And I'm not saying that other Disney live actions are not good. I actually have a ranking video coming out because there are actually some other Disney live actions that I love with all my heart. But in my opinion, no other live action has been able to top this one. They all have some very large glaring flaw with them, whereas Cinderella really didn't have any flaws in my opinion. If you disagree with me, please put it in the comments because let's chat. That is part of the fun of movies and television and entertainment is there is something for everybody. Everyone has different opinions on it, and I think it's so fun to dissect and talk about with other people. And tell me what your favorite live action is. I would love to know. If Cinderella is your favorite, come join my club and we can talk about it and daydream and fangirl about it all day together. But this movie specifically, Cinderella, they kept it so light and full of heart, and it's very vivid. The colors are very vivid, and it is just this magical escape into this fairy tale world. More so than any other live action I think that they've done. And it is perfect. It is the definition of perfect and what you would want from a live action film like this. Especially for a story so iconic like Cinderella. I mean, we all grew up with this movie, and she is the epitome of princess. And for them to just do such a good job, they invested so much in this movie, and they fleshed out the characters even better than the cartoon. Not only did they give Cate a backstory and the evil stepmother, the whole movie starts off differently than the animated film with introducing a lot more of Ella's backstory, and you meet her parents. Versus in the animated movie, it just starts off, she's already kind of a maid in her own house and the stepmother's there and she doesn't have her parents there anymore. So I love that we really got to see her as a kid and growing up and see her childhood and kind of grieve that process of losing her parents and kind of how her story turns out with her. I thought it added just a lot of emotion to the movie. It really helps you get attached to her very quickly in the beginning. And so I thought that was a very smart move, and from a writing perspective. I just love it. I want to talk about the core message of the movie and how they so beautifully captured it right from the beginning, and they strung the message all the way through the film. And that is the iconic phrase, have courage and be kind. Ella learns this phrase from her mom in the beginning, and Ella never loses that kindness, and I loved it. And it's become kind of a mantra in my life for me, honestly. Have courage and be kind. I just love that phrase so much, and I just thought it was such a tender introduction to the film and to really define her character. I feel like every Disney princess has very specific traits that kind of stand out, and this is Cinderella's. Probably the best scene in the whole movie that I feel like encapsulates who Cinderella is and why this movie is so amazing. The stepmother comes downstairs to kind of be faced with the consequences of her actions, and Cinderella has just been engaged to the prince. She has every right to throw her in jail, kick her out of the kingdom, imprison her for life. And all she does is turn around, face the stepmother, looks her in the eyes, and says, I forgive you. The power in that one line, though, just perfectly emulates who Cinderella is and how that message of have courage and be kind truly carried her through her life and made her the person that she was. And Kit looks at her like, you are the most amazing woman I've ever met in my life, because it's true. It's my favorite scene in the whole movie. I am not doing this scene justice. I know that. Like, the weight of this scene, after everything the stepmother had just put Cinderella through, Ella turns around with all the power in the world and says, I forgive you, and doesn't do anything. She walks out and she leaves. She is the ultimate Disney princess role model, in my opinion. And then we get the wedding, which is my other favorite part of the movie. Also, I think her wedding dress is the prettiest wedding dress I've ever seen in a film. But their wedding is perfect. Who knew spring wedding colors looked so amazing in winter? But it looked amazing. And it's pure magic. And the whole movie ends with happily ever after. And it's perfect. If you can't tell, I really love this movie. But I do. I love this movie so much. It is just, it was like, I couldn't have dreamt up a better fairy tale in my mind. And they made all of my fairy tale dreams come true in one movie. Okay, before I go any further, I have to just talk about the production value of this movie, from an aesthetics, costuming, set design, casting. Like, the entire production of this movie like set the gold standard for Disney live action remakes. No wonder they have not been able to top themselves since, because it is perfect beyond perfect beyond perfect. First of all, the dress, the costumes. Sandy Powell absolutely outdid herself, and that dress, that blue dress she wears to the ball, like, actually made every childhood dress dream I've ever had come to life and fruition. I remember seeing it for the first time, and I was absolutely gobsmacked. I had to pick my jaw up off the floor. It's the most beautiful dress I think I've ever seen in a movie. They also had to make multiple versions of the dress for different scenes and different, like, depending on what she was doing. But it's just amazing. And also, to hear Lily James talk about wearing the dress, wearing the costumes, and becoming this character, she had so much respect for playing this iconic character and this princess. And that made her even more lovable. It was like she brought the essence of Cinderella into real life and really embodied it. And you just couldn't help but love her, which made you love the character even more in the film. Okay, I got sidetracked though. But this movie had real craftsmanship in it. These costumes are immaculate, including from every costume Ella wears. I even love her peasant dress that she wears. I actually think it's beautiful. It's like this light blue bodice with these pink embroidered flowers, and you can barely see the flowers unless you look at a picture up close. But the details in it were just incredible, including all the costumes from Ella all the way down to her stepsisters and the side characters in the movie. I actually love her stepsisters' costumes. They're kind of gaudy and like meant to be really dramatic and over the top, and kind of, they have these like bold, crazy prints on them, and they are very much an outward expression of who the stepsisters are. Also, the stepmother's costumes, the costumes that Cate Blanchett wears in the film, are incredible. Are incredible. The first scene that we meet the stepmother, when she gets out of the carriage, she walks into the house for the first time and she turns her head, and the way the lighting is in the scene and her dramatic green costumes, right? She wears green the whole film to really depict her envy of Cinderella. And she turns her head and the lighting casts on her face so perfectly, and you know that the hat was placed perfectly to capture her tone in that scene. And oh, it's just so good. I love it. Every detail in the movie feels very intentional, and as a viewer, that is so enjoyable to watch. The evil stepmother, she is not just this cartoon evil for evil's sake. She has a very complex backstory, and honestly, you kind of feel for her in the movie when you learn her backstory of her first husband passed away. She used to have all this light and this life inside of her, and then becomes very bitter through the trials that life has given her, which is very interesting because her and Ella go through very similar trials. They have both grieved people that they loved in their lives, and the way that they chose to respond to those trials made them very different people. So I actually loved the evil stepmother's backstory. It made you like love-hate her more because you see her and you think, wow, how sad and tragic for you that you have become like this, when if you would have chosen kindness and love, you could have been like Ella and probably been a little bit more happy, a lot more happy in your life. But Cate Blanchett playing the evil stepmother was chef's kiss. It was perfect. She was the perfect casting, and I thought she did the character incredibly well. So claps for the evil stepmother. The casting of the evil stepmother. Kit as well. I absolutely loved that they gave him a backstory and they really fleshed out his character, and you really loved him aside from him loving Ella in the film. I think he is a fantastic prince character. I love his backstory of kind of wanting to marry who he wants and also wanting to please his dad in the kingdom. And then when his dad passes away, you see how hard that is for him. And then we get to see his kindness and love throughout the film as well. And you just love him. I adore Kit. I think he is wonderful. Dare I say he is the best live action prince. Is that true? I'm also doing a ranking video on that, so tell me in the comments who you think the best live action prince is, and then come back so that we can rank them together. But is he the best one? I think he might be. He is just amazing. But I love that he was just as wonderful and amazing in character as Ella was, so you really rooted for them. They were meant to be, right? They were just each other's match, and they were such a safe haven for each other. She is living in this awful abusive family with an abusive stepmother. He loses his dad and has corruption in the castle. They don't really have a lot of people watching out for them, and they end up doing that for each other, and I loved that they really needed each other. The love story in this film as well is the epitome of relationship goals. Ella and Kit have some of the most beautiful chemistry I think I've ever seen on film. They are so wonderful to each other, and I loved that they met before the ball. And I actually loved too that he met her as she was, right? An honest country girl. That is how he met her, and that is how he fell in love with her. I also love that they loved each other. And wow, wild concept, right? But I feel like in quite a few of the new Disney live action remakes, I haven't always felt like the couples mutually liked each other as much as maybe their goals in the movie. But in Cinderella, Kit and Ella genuinely love each other, and it's amazing. They share dialogue with each other where you can just tell they have mutual respect and love for one another. They only had eyes for each other, and to watch their love story on film is it's just so romantic, and it's so fun to watch. Makes all my girlhood dreams come true. Like, you're just watching her fall for a prince, and everyone has the Cinderella dream in their life, right? And for him to be so amazing and love her so much, it is so fun. How many times am I gonna say so fun, so beautiful, so amazing in this video? Sorry. I also have to talk about like the music and the tone throughout the film. So the animated movie is a musical, and there's quite a few songs missing from the live action, which I do feel like was the right decision. I liked that the mice were not main characters in the live action. I feel like they were just starting to figure out how to make animals into live action, and I actually like that they didn't talk. I thought it would have made the film really cheesy. That's such a huge part of the animated movie, but translating into live action, I don't think that would have translated very well. So obviously, like, the mice's song is cut, and So This Is Love is cut, which is kind of sad, honestly, because that's a beautiful song. But I do like that they tried to keep the score very light and whimsical and romantic, and the sweet song that her and her mom sang together, the Lavender's Blue song that is really carried throughout the film, I think is a very sweet touch and a sweet nod to the animated. But I don't think a full-blown musical was the right call for this movie, so I think I'm glad they didn't go that direction. But it was still whimsical and romantic without being forced with like songs, extra songs and things. But I know that was controversial. A lot of people were really upset that the songs were not in the live action. So do you agree with that? Do you think it should have been a musical? I'm very curious to know your thoughts. I feel like it's the one like issue of this film that I can really look past because everything else in it is so amazing. But I know it really bothered some other people. So, okay, I also haven't touched on this, how perfect the casting was for Kit and Ella. I thought they were beautiful together, and one of my favorite live action castings that they've done. I just don't think they could have picked two better people to portray those characters. Overall, the whole film, I feel like it just struck the perfect balance of being timeless and heartfelt, whimsical and romantic, transporting you into the fairy tale and storybook world. Visually stunning, the production design was perfect. The costuming and aesthetics was every kid's dream in a movie. And they also added depth to their characters. They added more than what was in the animated without trying too hard and staying true to the classic. Cinderella was not trying to reinvent the wheel, and that's exactly why it worked. Tell me in the comments below, do you agree? Do you disagree? Is Cinderella the GOAT of Disney live action remakes? Tell me why or why not. You agree or disagree? I have lots more very fun videos coming up, including lots of How to Train Your Dragon videos, including we'll have a full movie review after I go see the premiere in a couple of weeks. Lots of live action breakdowns, rankings, and more coming to the channel. So please like and subscribe to the channel so you can be notified of all the upcoming videos and so we can keep breaking it down together. You can also follow us on Instagram at PassThePopcornLizzie, where we post movie news. You can vote on future video topics, and we have lots of really fun series coming up, and there's going to be a lot of great content over there. So follow us on Instagram, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next week.